In this lesson, we are going to learn about Azure Blob Storage and how can you develop solution using Azure Blob Storage. And within this lesson, we are going to learn about different types of Azure storage and what are the different types of blob storage available in Azure. Let us start with understanding how to find an Azure storage account or how to create an Azure storage account. You can go to the global search box and type in storage account and select that. If you want to create a brand new storage account, you can click on create. You can see all the existing storage account what you have in your subscription on this page. If you want to create a brand new one, click on create. This basically asks you for some basic information like subscription, resource group where you want to host it, what's the name you want to give to the storage account, where do you want to host this storage account, what type of performance you are looking for. Standard gives you a hard disk performance and premium gives you an SSD performance. Then you can choose different redundancy. What is LRS, GRS and ZRS and GZRS are all explained on the other video which I made before. So if you want to learn more about storage account in detail, you can watch one of my AZ-104 videos, which clearly explains all of these intricate components. Once you select all of these right components, you can hit on review and create to create your first storage account. So let me take you to an existing storage account. So once you go inside a storage account, under the overview tab, you can get the information what you filled out to create the storage account, like what's the performance, where is it hosted, things like that. Under data storage on the left hand side, you can see there are four types of storage. One is blob, which is blob based container. That is what we are going to learn in this lesson. Then we have file shares for the SMB drives, then queues and tables. Let's go back to the presentation to learn more about Azure Storage overview. An Azure Storage account contains all of your Azure Storage data objects, which include blobs, files, queues, tables, and disk. The storage account provides a unique namespace for your Azure Storage data that is accessible from anywhere in the world over HTTP or HTTPS. Data in your Azure Storage account is durable and highly available, secure, and massively scalable. Now let's talk about Azure Blob Storage in detail. Microsoft Azure Blob Storage is the Microsoft Object Storage solution for the cloud. Blob storage is optimized for storing massive amounts of unstructured data. Unstructured data is data that does not adhere to a particular data model or definition such as text or binary data. Users or client application can access objects in blob storage via HTTP or HTTPS from anywhere in the world. Objects in the blob storage are accessible via Azure REST APIs or Azure PowerShell, Azure CLI, or Azure Storage Client Library. So if you're wondering what are the available client libraries, you can use languages including .NET, Java, Node.js, Python, Go, PHP, and Ruby. Let us learn about the blob storage resource hierarchy. Azure Blob Storage allows access to stored data through its resources. Azure Blob Storage contains storage account. This refers to an account that you can use to access Azure storage. In terms of hierarchy, it's the parent account of the container and blob resources. The next layer is the container layer. This refers to a collection of objects that are grouped together and accessed by using the same base uniform resource identifier or URI. And the third layer is blob. This refers to an object, typically a media file or a disk that is stored in the container. So let me take you to the Azure portal and show you how this looks like. So I'm on my Azure portal. Go to a storage account. Under the data storage, click on containers. This is how you can access a blob storage. You can click on create a container. This is how you name a container. And you can set the public access level. If you want to do additional controls like encryption, you can do that over here. click on create a container. So now you have the blob storage and you have a container. The third layer is the object what you place within the container. This could be an image file or an MP4 file or a JPEG file or whatever file you want to put in. So you can basically upload the file by clicking on upload here, select the file which you want to upload, or you could use other tools like Azure CLI, AZ copy or Storage Explorer to upload and download and manipulate these files. To access this blob, you can create access policies or you can create shared access token as well, which will give you a unique URI which specifies who's got access to what at what particular time and the level of access. Now let us learn about the blob types. Azure Storage supports three types of blobs: block blobs, append blobs, and page blobs. Each blob type is designed to handle a specific type of object in storage. For example, block blobs are ideal for media files, append blobs are suitable for log files, and page blobs almost directly emulate storage disk. So let's find out about the different blob types that are available for storage. First, learn about the block blobs. Block blobs let you upload large blob efficiently. Each block is identified by the block ID. You create or modify a block blob by writing a set of blocks and committing them by their block IDs. Let's examine the characteristics of append blobs. An append blob comprises blocks and is optimized for append operations. When you modify an append blob, blocks are added to the end of the blob only through the append block operation. Updating or deleting existing block isn't supported. What about page blobs? Page blobs are a collection of 512 byte pages that are optimized for random read and write operations. They are like hard disk storage and are ideal for virtual hard disk. To create page blob, you initialize the page blob and specify the maximum size of the page blob that needs to grow. To add or update the content in the page blob, you write a page or pages by specifying an offset and a range that aligns to the 512 byte page boundaries. So let's look at the storage durability options. The first one is LRS, which is known as locally redundant storage. This replicates data 3 times within a single data center. LRS provides at least 99.119% durability of objects over a given year. LRS is the lowest cost replication options and it offers the least durability compared to other options. The next one is ZRS or zone redundant storage. This replicates data synchronously across 3 storage clusters in a single region. Each storage cluster is physically separate from the others and is in its own availability zone. The third type is GRS. GRS is known as geo-redundant storage. This is designed to provide at least 99.69% durability of objects over a given year by replicating data to a secondary region. That's a hundreds of miles away from the primary region. And the fourth type is RAGRS, which is known as Read Access Geo-Redundant Storage. This is based on GRS, but RAGRS replicates data to another data center in a secondary region, and it also provides the option to read them from the secondary region. The next one is GZRS, which is known as Geographically Zone Redundant Storage. This combines the high availability of ZRS with the protection from the region outages that GRS provides. And optionally, you can enable read access to the data in the secondary region with read access geographically zone redundant storage if your applications must read data in the event of a disaster in the primary region. Now let us go ahead and create an Azure Blob Storage using Azure Portal. So go to All Services and select storage accounts and click on create. So click on the subscription. You can create a new resource group, or you can select an existing one. I'm selecting an existing resource group. In the storage account name field, enter a name for your account. But please note that the name must be unique across Azure, and the name must be between 3 and 24 characters long, and the name can include only numbers and lowercase letters. So I'm going to name test123 test321 storage, and I hope nobody reserved it before. All right. And in the region field, select the location of the storage account or use the default one. I'm just going to use the default one. Under performance, I'm going to keep it standard. And under redundancy, I'm going to keep it locally redundant storage. Click next. This is where you can modify the advanced security features. I'm not going to do any modification at the moment. Go to networking. This gives you an ability to enable public endpoint with selected network, or private endpoint options. Under data protection, you have option to enable soft delete. You can enable point in time restore for containers, etc. Click next for encryption. If you do want to modify any encryption type, this is where you can do that. I'm just going to pretty much leave all the values to the default and click on review and create. So right now it is completed the validation. You get the green message saying that the validation has been passed. Click on create. Storage account creation won't take more than a minute. So after completion of this deployment, we can jump right into the storage account. Looks like our storage account is created successfully. Click on go to resource to go directly to the storage account. So within this storage account, like we saw before, you can go under data storage and you can click on blob container. This is where you do it. So since we have seen that example, I'm going to go back to the overview tab and I'm going to click on delete, and I'm going to type the name of the storage account, and I'm going to delete this resource, because this is one way I make sure that my subscription doesn't exhaust all the credit I have. So this is called cleanup. Alright, so that concludes this lesson. In the next lesson, we are going to learn about how to manage the Azure Blob Storage lifecycle. I will see you on the next one. Until then, take care.